It was a night that no one in America would soon forget, a live television broadcast that was supposed to be just another fiery political debate turned into a dramatic spectacle when Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett unleashed a bombshell revelation that left former President Donald Trump visibly rattled, and for once, completely lost for words. The tension in the studio was electric from the very beginning as the audience leaned in with eager anticipation. Trump, known for his brash confidence and domineering presence, had been smiling smugly as the cameras rolled, prepared to do what he always did best. Dominate the conversation, interrupt opponents, and bend the narrative to his will. But this time, his opponent was Jasmine Crockett, a sharp-witted congresswoman with a reputation for her unapologetic honesty, quick comebacks, and a fearless determination to speak truth to power. The host barely had the chance to finish the opening introductions when Trump launched into his usual tirade, attacking opponents, bragging about his so-called successes, and taking cheap shots at Crockett. But she sat there, calm and composed, waiting patiently, her eyes locked on him with the quiet confidence of someone who knew she had something he could not escape, and when she finally spoke, the room fell into a heavy silence. "Mr. Trump," she said with a voice steady enough to cut through his theatrics, "you've been running around telling Americans that you're the victim, that the system is rigged against you, that you're being treated unfairly, but what you don't tell people is the truth about what's really been going on behind closed doors." Trump raised his eyebrows, attempting to smirk, but there was an uneasiness in his eyes that cameras picked up immediately. The audience leaned forward, sensing a moment of reckoning. Crockett continued, "See, while you stand here tonight painting yourself as a martyr, documents have come to light, documents that prove you weren't just cutting corners, you were orchestrating schemes to line your own pockets at the expense of the very Americans you claim to fight for." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Trump tried to interject, waving his hands dramatically. "Fake news. Lies. She doesn't know what she's talking about." But his voice cracked slightly, a rare sign of panic that did not go unnoticed. Crockett, unbothered by his attempts to shout her down, leaned closer into the microphone, her tone sharpening like a blade. "You can shout all you want, but the facts don't go away. These records, these testimonies, they all point to one thing, a pattern of deceit, a betrayal of trust, and an insult to the very people who once believed in you." The moderator tried to calm the tension, but the audience was erupting with murmurs, phones out, live tweeting every word. Trump, red-faced now, pointed a finger at Crockett. "You're a liar. You're making this up because you and your radical friends are scared of me coming back stronger than ever." But Crockett didn't flinch. Instead, she gave him the kind of stare that silenced even the loudest hecklers in Congress. Then she dropped the line that would replay on every news network for days. "Scared of you? Mr. Trump, the only thing America is scared of is giving you another chance to do what you did before, lie, cheat, and tear this country apart for your own ego." The crowd erupted into thunderous applause, and Trump, clearly losing control, banged his fist on the podium, his voice rising to a near shout. "You'll regret this. You don't know who you're messing with." He barked, but the audience wasn't buying it anymore. Every time he tried to talk over her, Crockett came back sharper, her words cutting through his bluster like steel through paper. She wasn't just debating him, she was dismantling him in real time. With every fact, every pointed truth, every calm retort, it became clear that the old Trump playbook, deny, deflect, attack, wasn't working tonight. The camera zoomed in on his face, catching the beads of sweat forming on his forehead, the clenched jaw, the frantic glance toward his aides sitting nervously off stage. Crockett pressed on. "The American people deserve better. They deserve a leader who respects the truth, who respects democracy, and who doesn't think the law is just another tool for personal gain. You had your chance, Mr. Trump, and you blew it." By now, Trump's usual smirk was gone, replaced with a scowl, his words stumbling as he tried to recover. You don't know what you're talking about. People love me. I built the strongest economy. Everybody says so, everybody knows it." His voice trailed off, almost as if he himself no longer believed the lines he'd repeated for years. Crockett, sensing his unraveling, delivered the final blow. "If people truly loved you the way you claim, Mr. Trump, you wouldn't need to keep shouting it. Respect is earned, not demanded, and tonight, the American people can see the truth for themselves. The room thundered with applause again, the kind that drowns out everything else. Trump threw up his hands in frustration, muttering under his breath as the cameras captured every second of his meltdown. The host attempted to regain control of the program, but the moment had already gone viral. Social media was ablaze, hashtags about Crockett's Bombshell trended worldwide, memes flooded timelines, and clips of Trump's red-faced outburst circulated within minutes. Political commentators were already calling it a defining moment, one where Trump, for the first time on live television, had been cornered with facts he couldn't shout down or spin away from. As the broadcast wrapped, Trump stormed off the stage, still grumbling, while Crockett stood tall, shaking hands with supporters and flashing a confident smile. It wasn't just a debate performance, it was a political earthquake, one that left millions of viewers knowing deep down that something had changed forever. That night, the world didn't just see Trump go nuts, they witnessed Jasmine Crockett plant her flag as a fearless fighter who wouldn't be intimidated, and in that moment, the balance of power shifted right before America's eyes. Do you also want me to add a description, hashtags, and a YouTube-style title like you usually ask for your story speeches? Sure, I'll expand one strong keynote into a full-flowing 1,000-word story speech without any headings. Here's the extended version for you. That night on live television, Jasmine Crockett looked Donald Trump straight in the eye and said, "The American people deserve better." It wasn't just a line in a debate, it was a thunderclap that echoed across every living room in the country, a single sentence that cut through years of noise, lies, and division, a keynote so powerful that it left even Trump, the man who had built his entire career on bluster and bravado, searching for words he didn't have. The silence that followed was deafening, because everyone watching knew in that instant she had struck a chord deeper than politics. She had touched the very soul of a nation tired of chaos and hungry for truth. Trump had walked onto that stage the way he always did, chest out, smirk plastered across his face, certain that his old tactics of intimidation and swagger would carry him through yet another debate. He expected Crockett to flinch, to stumble, maybe even lose her temper, because that was his game, to rattle his opponents until they crumbled. But Crockett wasn't rattled. She was steady, her voice calm, her eyes sharp, and her words deliberate. When she said, "The American people deserve better," she wasn't just talking to Trump. She was talking to every parent who struggled to pay bills while billionaires got tax breaks, to every worker who lost a job while politicians enriched themselves, to every young person who felt like their future was being stolen by corruption and greed. The phrase hit like a hammer because it wasn't just an attack, it was a truth too obvious to deny. Trump's reaction was immediate and explosive. His face flushed red, his hand slammed on the podium, and his voice cracked as he barked, "That's a lie. I gave America the best economy in history. Nobody has done more for this country than me." But the louder he shouted, the clearer it became that he wasn't convincing anyone, not even himself. Crockett didn't flinch. She leaned into the microphone, her voice steady as steel, repeating slowly, "The American people deserve better." The audience roared, the words echoing like a chorus, and for a moment, it was as if the whole nation had joined in. Trump tried again, pointing his finger, calling her names, throwing out the same lines he had used 100 times before, witch hunt, fake news, radical left, but this time, the words fell flat. Crockett's keynote had pierced through his shield, exposing the cracks that even his loyalists could no longer ignore. She didn't stop there. She built on her line, painting a picture so vivid that every viewer at home could see themselves in her words. "The American people deserve a leader who tells them the truth," she said, her eyes fixed on Trump, "not someone who hides behind excuses and blames everyone else for his failures. They deserve a leader who respects the rule of law, not someone who thinks he's above it. They deserve a leader who fights for their future, not his own fortune." The crowd erupted again, and Trump's face twisted in frustration, his voice growing louder but his arguments weaker. He was shouting over the applause now, a man drowning in the very storm he had created. And Crockett, sensing his unraveling, delivered the blow that sealed the moment in history. "You can scream all you want, Mr. Trump," she said firmly, but the truth doesn't need to scream. It stands on its own. And tonight, the truth is this: the American people deserve better than you. The studio shook with thunderous applause, the kind that drowns out everything else. Trump waved his hands, yelling, "Lies! Lies!" But the cameras caught the sweat on his forehead, the panic in his eyes, the fear of a man who realized that for the first time in a long time, the crowd wasn't with him. Social media exploded instantly. Hashtags of Crockett's keynote shot to the top of the trending list. Clips of Trump's red-faced outburst spread like wildfire, while her calm, unwavering delivery was being hailed as one of the most iconic debate moments of the decade. Commentators rushed to call it a turning point, a moment when the old rules of Trump's dominance no longer applied. And in living rooms across America, families nodded, some whispering to each other, some even wiping away tears, because in that single phrase, "The American people deserve better," they heard their frustrations, their hopes, and their yearning for something beyond the circus. As the broadcast ended, Trump stormed off the stage, still muttering, still angry, but no longer in control of the narrative. Crockett, on the other hand, stood tall, shaking hands, smiling with the quiet satisfaction of someone who knew she had not just debated, she had made history. For days to come, her keynote was replayed on every network, quoted in headlines, and repeated in conversations at dinner tables and office break rooms. It became more than a debate line. It became a rallying cry, a symbol of resilience, a declaration that the American people were ready to turn the page on an era of chaos. And Trump? For the first time, he looked less like the unshakable force he claimed to be and more like a man cornered by the truth. That night, Jasmine Crockett didn't just win a debate. She gave a voice to millions who felt unheard, and in doing so, she proved a simple, undeniable fact: the American people truly do deserve better, and now, they know it. Do you also want me to craft a description, hashtags, and a YouTube-style title for this keynote story like you often request?